Hello, Danny. This is Brad Dacus. How you doing?
Hey, Brad. Doing well.
Okay, great. Are you ready?
I am.
We hear so many tragedies every year about social workers taking children that should not be taken. And we often throw up our hands and say, gosh, what do we do? Well, we're going to talk in the first part of this program about someone who can actually help us make a positive difference in protecting children in this regard. In the second half of the show, we're going to talk about an important case that's pending dealing with the rights of parents to be able to protect their children and not have their child put to death by a zealous hospital, not wanting to respect the rights of parents or allow them to bring in an outside neurological expert. It's a very important case, a very important human rights case. We're going to talk about it in the second half of the show. But in the first half of the show, I want to introduce a gentleman. His name is Danny Sells, and he's with a wonderful ministry called Safe Families for Children. Safe Families for Children. It's a nonprofit organization. Thank you, Danny, for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Brad. Looking forward to sharing some time with you today.
Oh, thank you. Now, we've heard about things that go on with social workers. I heard the statistics are, Danny, that roughly half of the children, actually more than half of the children who are taken by CPS or social workers, they have different names depending on the state, that over half of the children are returned after 3 days. Now, that's 3 days of trauma of being forcefully taken from parents against their will. They're by total strangers, sometimes physically examined by total strangers. A lot of trauma there. We also know, though, that for children that are taken that remain away from parents and put into foster care, that studies show that it's actually better for a child to remain in a moderately abusive home than to be placed in foster care in terms of high school graduation, teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, depression, suicide, criminal activity. It's actually better, and that's how terrible America's foster homes are statistically. And there's some great foster home parents out there. We salute their work. But we have a real problem, and that's why I was so excited to hear about your ministry bridging a very important gap that will allow people out there in, I think, 30-plus states across the country to actually get involved and make a real difference, significant difference for these children. And I want you to tell us about your ministry and how it is actually accomplishing that. How are you different than, say, foster care? What exactly is involved in your ministry, which provides, in essence, a brief substitute for children going into full foster care or being taken by social workers?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Brad. Well, you mentioned a couple things there that I think really highlight a few of the foundational differences in particular. The first is that word ministry. And,
Right.
at its core, Safe Families for Children really is a movement of the Christian church across the country. We are active in 36 states and 105 different cities across the United States, working with somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 to 1,600 different churches across the U.S., churches of all shapes and sizes, all Christian churches in the community, churches really who resonate with this message and this scriptural calling to re-engage at the forefront of caring for kids and families in their community, in their neighborhoods that are in crisis.
Yeah.
And crisis looks, a number of different ways. You mentioned a few minutes ago that crisis of a child who his family is struggling so much that the child welfare system steps in and removes the child for a short period of time while they investigate. Maybe they find from the investigation that things are so dangerous that child needs to come into foster care. Whatever that looks like, we know that there are a number of families in literally every neighborhood of every community of every city where families are kind of in the shadows and are really struggling to stay afloat. And
Right.
Safe Families for Children in that word ministry really is all about mobilizing volunteers from the local church to go into those shadows, connect with those families, and walk them into the light and the community of the church.
Okay, that was a great overview, Danny, and I really appreciate that. I want people to take note of the fact you're not just a local ministry in just a few places. You have over 1,500 churches partnering with you in how many states? 36 states?
36 states, yeah.
In 36 states. And I think that's very important, folks, that we don't look at this as just a ministry that's just in one place or another. The odds are, if you're listening to this broadcast, that you can become a part of this. And if it turns out your town doesn't have a church that's a part of this ministry, then guess what? They'll work with you to set up this ministry and to make a difference. Now, let's talk about specifically how you make that difference. You've got parents who are volunteering. They don't get money from the government or some agency. They're volunteering. First off, how long do these parents usually participate? Is it 5 years? Is it a week? What's the average time that people can expect to have to block out in their lives to reach out and provide someone, a child who's in emergency need for care and attention and assistance?
Yeah. So really easy answer to that question is about 6 weeks. On average, kids will stay with a safe family for about 45 days, but that is an open-ended kind of spectrum. Everything from, we have kids who go for a weekend and stay with a safe family for a weekend, maybe because they're living with grandparents and an elderly grandma just needs a little bit of a break to breathe and kind of put her life back in order a little bit before she has grandkids come back and live with her again. So she may have a partner with a safe family who keeps the kids for a weekend. And we've had some safe family situations that have lasted upwards of a year. Maybe there's a treatment program that a parent who's struggling with a particular issue wants to get into a treatment program, and it's a really thorough, excellent treatment program that's going to last a year long, and she needs to have her kids taken care of so that she's enabled to be able to check into that program and become a safe parent for her own children. Now, so everything in between, but on average about 45 days.
Okay, now, let's say you got a couple and they say, okay, yeah, we want to reach out, say our kids are gone, or let's say they have kids and they say, yeah, we want to reach out, we want to help, but gosh, it's just such a big gamble. We don't know if it's going to be a few days or a year. Do they have a good idea up front of what's expected of them in terms of the time frame?
We sure do, yeah. We vet all of the referrals that come in of families who have needs, and we gain an understanding of what that need looks like and what's the anticipated time frame, and then we match that with families who are able to care for children for that amount of time. So we have some families that say our only availability is on weekends during summer breaks from school. And we have families who say we're available 24/7 all year long, and everything in between. And so it's really about building a profile of what works well with your family in your home, and there will be a need that matches that, and we partner you up with that family when that need matches what you're available to offer.
Now, can that family take that child to church Sunday mornings and have home Bible studies and pray together? Can they do that, or are they limited not to be able to do that?
No, they are able to do that and encouraged to do that.
Great.
Really, our encouragement is to families to just continue on with life as they do things. We really want to offer an opportunity for there to be a little bit of an organic mentoring process happening, where the mother of these kids is being able to observe and see what does it look like for my child to be in this healthy system of family who goes to church and eats dinner together at night and goes to the soccer game at the soccer field and so on and so forth. And absolutely this piece of things, really one of the most exciting things for me, Brad, is as someone who cares about this and the ministry aspect of this, is inevitably the question comes up where the mother of these kids will say, you're not getting paid to do this. You didn't know me before this. Why would you do this? Why would you open your home and invite my kids in and care for us in this way? And it's just a golden opportunity for us to share why we would do that. And why we do it is because it's been done for us. This thing of really gracious hospitality and, in spite of our circumstances, extending ourselves, and that's been done for all of us through the life of Jesus Christ. And so we turn around and give that to someone else.
Yeah, it's actually it's a wonderful ministry opportunity, and it's not very demanding. It has real results, and it's something that people can do. In fact, if someone's a single parent, you don't have to have a mom and a dad necessarily to participate. You could be a single individual participating. So it's a great opportunity. Now, some people may say, well, gosh, I feel like I'll be going it alone, though. I mean, they're really not going it alone. And how does a church work to put this together? I want people to understand that they're not going it alone, that it's actually a part of a church ministry becoming a part of that, and you have other people in the church assisting, right? How's that work?
Yeah, you're right. So we do have a core value that nobody gets to serve alone in Safe Families for Children. You're part of a team, and those teams are the ministry teams at each of the churches. And so when you take a child into your home as a host family, it's what we call the families that take kids in, you're going to have what we call family friends. And those family friends are other volunteers from the church who have been vetted and approved, and they're ready to move into action to help support you while you're caring for that child. So these are people at the church that will offer to tutor the children, maybe to drive them to and from school, people who will offer to drop off a meal so that you have some time to just spend with that child so you don't have to prepare dinner that night, or maybe they will babysit on the weekend so you can go on a date night. There's going to be, you need to understand as a host family, there's just going to be 6 to 8 other volunteers that jump in on this and help you make it possible.
Great.
And ultimately, that support then shifts back to the mother when these kids go back home, and mom now has this community of 6, 8, 10 people in her life that are really encouraging her and drawing her out of the shadows of isolation and into the community of the church.
Yeah, and a lot of these families that are being helped don't go to church, and I understand that a lot of them actually become a part of that church body to really help them to be ministered to down the road after this is all done. So.
Very true.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic opportunity, not only just for an individual and a family, but also for a church community, becoming a part of it. I know I'm going to bring this up with my pastor, my church. I think it's an excellent opportunity. If you're out there and you're saying, yeah, I'm just sort of doing my own thing, think about this, folks. It's not that demanding. It's not that burdensome, but seek the Lord on it. And if you feel the Lord touching your heart, hey, Danny, where should they go? Where should they call or email you?
Sure. The best thing to do is to visit our website, which is www.safe-families.org, safe-families.org. There's a lot of information on there. There's some really encouraging and helpful videos that you can watch. And you can also go to the I Want to Volunteer tab and just fill out a little information thing there, and it'll get sent wherever you are across the country. It'll get sent to your local representative, and they'll circle back with you and help you get engaged as soon as possible.
Great. Danny, keep up the great work. And folks out there, be open to how God wants to work through you through this wonderful ministry, making a real difference in people's lives. God bless you, Danny, and keep it up.
Thank you, Brad.
Take care. You decide to support the Pacific Justice Institute on either a one-time or a regular monthly basis, we have a wonderful gift for you. It's a book by Mike Huckabee. It's a hardbound book, autographed by Mike Huckabee, former Governor Mike Huckabee, and it's called God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. It's an excellent book. It's a collector book, and it's our gift to you if you decide to become a part of the Pacific Justice Institute team on either a one-time or on a monthly basis. And it's real easy to do that. Just go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org, or you can also go there via pji.org, pji.org as well. And there you can also look at all of our resources. You can sign up to get our regular weekly Legal Insider update, receive our monthly newsletter if you'd like as well, dealing with case updates. But go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. We'd love for you to become a part of our team, and we really appreciate that support. Now, we have with us on the line one of our attorneys, Matt McReynolds. Matt, you've been involved with a very important case dealing with the ability and the rights of parents to be able to save the life of their child when you have doctors saying, no, we want to pull the cord on your child, and we don't want to let the parents have an opportunity for a second opinion or a second neurologist. Tell us about this case that we're dealing with at the Pacific Justice Institute, and let's walk people through it, because we've heard these stories. We've heard of one case in the United Kingdom. We've heard of other cases that have come up. I know we've dealt with one just recently, another emergency case, and they're all dealing with the rights of parents to be able to save the life of their child when there is, in fact, the possibility that their child is not brain dead but is actually alive. Tell us about this case that we're dealing with right now.
That's right, Brad. Here at Pacific Justice Institute, we've had a number of these cases now that have come up just within the past year and a half. And so the one we're going to focus on today involved baby Israel. And this was a case that started out in the spring of last year, we just got a desperate last-minute call here into the Sacramento office about something that was happening in our area with a parent in a hospital setting who was about to watch the life support be turned off from their 2-year-old child and was powerless to save it when they knew that their child could continue to fight for life.
Now, this little child had a major asthma attack and didn't get enough oxygen, so there was some definite brain damage that had taken place, I understand. I can sort of relate to that personally in a way because when I was 4 years old, I had a major allergic reaction, asthma attack, rushed to the hospital. I knew I could barely get air, and I was fine. But this happens. This happens all across the country, just with kids having allergic reactions and asthma attacks, or other injuries for that matter. And yet, this is something that is particularly disturbing because not just because of the tragedy, but because the fact that the mother knew that child was not brain dead. How did the mother know the child was not brain dead?
Well, Brad, the mom actually could see her child responding to things like her voice, her touch, music even, and she knew there was hope for him. And we'll just rush through. There were so many twists and turns in this case, but the bottom line, what happened last year was after we went to court at the Pacific Justice Institute, we were able to get that decision held off for just long enough for a few weeks' time so that this family could transport their child to another facility. They actually had to take him out of the country, but they found doctors who believed in him and who agreed with him this child was not dead, and he had every reason to continue fighting for life.
Now, they actually, in this other country where they had the child examined, they actually had like an MRI done, and which concluded that there was living brain activity, correct?
They sure did, Brad. There was actually more that was being done in this Latin American country than had been done here to make sure that the right decision was being made to terminate life support. Now, unfortunately, the case took a sad turn later on because the family tried to come back to the United States for further treatment. And when they came back to Southern California, the decision was made by a hospital there to turn off life support just because the hospital up here in Northern California had already said there was no hope for this child. And so, unfortunately, the child passed away. And so we knew that we had to continue fighting for other families not to be put in the same situation and against the legal regime that allowed this to happen.
Right. I like the way you worded that, the legal regime that allowed this to happen, because a part of this is a part of the restructuring of our health system where the attitude is sort of like, well, it's not just about human life, it's quality of life, or this is going to be just too expensive, so we're going to allow their termination. And that may seem a little coarse the way I said that, but Matt, do you think that's an attitude and philosophy that we're seeing in medicine and healthcare here in the United States today?
Oh, yeah, not only that, Brad, but to take active intervention and to take away these kinds of decisions from family members, from parents, from spouses, from those who are in the best position to determine whether or not their loved one is still having a chance of recovery, is still fighting for life. Now, we're dealing with cases as I speak. Our attorneys are filing in other cases where the decisions are trying to be taken away from spouses, and hopefully we'll have time to get into those cases in the coming weeks. But with this case we have here in Sacramento, the next major thing that's going to happen is we're going to be going to court in just the next few weeks. We've got all of our legal briefs in. The judge actually postponed the hearing so that she could take more time to evaluate our legal arguments. And we're going after the statutes that are in place that allow life support to be turned off without families' permission, without families' consent. And some of the arguments that are being made by the state are just astounding, and that's why we know this fight is important to continue.
Yeah, and we're looking at the ability for parents just to even have the opportunity to get an outside opinion from a neurologist. I know in this case, baby Israel, that's exactly what happened. We got an outside opinion, outside neurologist who said, whoa, this baby's not brain dead. And so that allowed us to get through the injunction. It was a tragic ending because of the way the system is set up. I know we're litigating that in the courts right now as we speak. In fact, Matt, give an update as to what's taking place on the litigation side. We at Pacific Justice, folks, we don't just see these things and do a quick little brief Band-Aid. If we see the need to litigate and to fight something, we're willing to do that all the way up to the United States Supreme Court if possible. These parents don't have the resources. We do it all without charge, and part of that is because of the gracious support of many people out there like you. But Matt, give a brief update on this actual litigation, where we're standing right now.
Sure, Brad. Well, first of all, I'm so glad you brought out the point about the family seeking an independent evaluation, because we're not just talking about families where they are disagreeing with the entire medical establishment about the diagnosis.
Right.
We're talking about families who just want a second opinion, who just want an independent evaluation, and in many cases are getting an independent evaluation that their loved one still has a chance to fight for life. And so that's part of
Right.
what we're advocating for in this latest round of filings. The state of California has filed a motion to dismiss our case, to say that even though we as a state define the end of life and set forward the procedures for how these declarations of brain death are going to be determined, we're really not responsible for that. You should go after the hospitals or doctors and not us as the state. And so that's one of the big issues we're contesting. And one of the main arguments we've brought back, Brad, is wait a second. You're defining the end of life. You're defining this child and other people out of existence. That's really not that different than what states have done in the past to try to define certain types of people out of existence in some of the darkest moments of our nation's history. And so for you as the state to just say, don't look at us, we have no liability, we can't be sued over this, is really a pretty flimsy argument.
Yeah, it really is. And the fact that the state is part of the problem here, in that it's denying parents the process, the rights that they should have to make sure no one is killed and terminated unless they really truly are dead or brain dead. And it's very disappointing. We at Pacific Justice, folks, I want you to know we stepped in on this. We weren't looking for something like this. We stepped in on it because there was a need. And we had to fill that need because we looked to our left and looked to our right, and we didn't see anyone else stepping in to fill this need. We're a strong supporter of the sanctity of human life for the unborn, and we're also supporting the sanctity of human life for the born as well. And we've also dealt with some euthanasia issues before in the past. So, Matt, I think this is so important. And, folks, if you'd like to keep up with this case and our other cases, I encourage you to go to our website, pacificjustice.org. pacificjustice.org, and there you can sign up to get our case updates. You can sign up to get our Legal Insider, and you can also receive a gift from us if you choose to support the work of Pacific Justice Institute. Once again, it's Mike Huckabee's book, Gods, Guns, Grits, and Glory, and I know you'll find that very interesting and very helpful. Matt, if someone is out there anywhere in the United States, this show is being broadcast all across the country. What should they do real quickly? We're running out of time, but I want to just real quickly, where should they go? Who should they contact to find out what their rights are?
Well, Brad, for sure. They need to pick up the phone and dial Pacific Justice Institute. You can get all of our phone numbers on our website at pji.org. They'll be put through to an attorney in an emergency situation like this. Mm-hmm. And, we've jumped into action on some of these cases on very, very short notice. Like I said, we're actually doing that in another case even as I speak. And we are very eager to take on as many of these as we can to try to save lives. Right.
We have hundreds of attorneys, affiliate attorneys across the United States making a difference. And Matt, I appreciate the work that you're doing in our Sacramento office to helping to serve and engage and coordinate these very, very important cases. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, folks, there you have it. It's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Have a great weekend.